Hello, I'm back for my match pod review for www.mufcglobal.co.uk. Manchester United 3, Newcastle United 2. Well, all that can be said about the game was just a sideshow, really, to the stuff that was happening before. I just need to give a bit of build-up, really, to the match. Reports that Jose Mourinho is going to be sacked, whatever the result. Then, I mean, my point of view on that is you shouldn't be sacking a manager because of one result. I mean, that says a lot about Manchester United as a club and the shambles that it is at the moment. Then Manchester United then defended Jose Mourinho because there was a leak from somewhere. I mean, my personal view is that Jose Mourinho might have leaked it himself, possibly. And he should do, because if Manchester United are leaking stuff, then why can't he? Because they've done it before after David Moyes and Louis van Gaal. So, the team news: David De Gea was in goal, back four of Ashley Young at right back, which I think is the right decision because Antonio Valencia, personal view, should never be a starter for Manchester United again at right back, after the issues with liking a Instagram post against, or was it a Twitter post against, the manager. You're the captain, and you're not even a captain because you don't lead anybody. But anyway, that's my personal view. At centre back was Eric Bailly and Chris Smalling. Left back Luke Shaw. Midfield of, unsurprisingly, Scott McTominay. I say unsurprisingly, but a surprise choice for some people. But Jose Mourinho has basically been told he's getting sacked. So, prior to the game, so he's going to play Scott McTominay, who is his man, with Matic in three, with Pogba, and then up front was Lukaku through the centre, with Rashford on the right, and Martial on the left. Did I mention Big Dave? Big Dave, David De Gea. You know who he is. So the game began, and I'm not beating around the bush. First 45 minutes, disgusting performance from the players. Absolutely disgusting. They basically decided, well, the manager's going to get sacked, but if we win, hang on a minute, he might stay. I mean, that should, as I mentioned before, that shouldn't be the way you should think as a club. But we have Ed Woodward, who's clueless of football, by the way. Just in case all the idiots who are now saying that he is, but 4 or 5 years ago when he was leaking stuff to the press, they were more than happy to say, it's nothing to do with Ed Woodward. A lot has got to do with Ed Woodward. But anyway, it was a shocking performance in the first half. Newcastle got 2 soft goals. Newcastle did play well, but at the bottom of the table, I don't think they've led a match this season. They haven't won a match since the end of the last game of last season when Chelsea basically gave up. And Newcastle beat them 3-0. 2-0 down. Kennedy with a shocking defensive goal. I don't know what Ashton was doing, but there were 2 other players there, Smalling and Bailly, who decided, we can't be bothered either. Great finish from Kennedy, to be fair, past David De Gea. And then a goal from Muto with some shocking defending. Scott McTominay should have got a challenge in, really, in the box, but it was poor. I mean, one of my friends who I was watching it in the pub with basically said to me, David De Gea didn't try there. Well, I tell you what, if one player deserves to be allowed to basically not try for Manchester United, is David De Gea, but it was garbage, and I told him that. I said that to his face. We weren't arguing, but I was just saying, you're just talking rubbish. I mean, he had a pop at Fred as well, he says he's mediocre, and I said to him, right, when's he been mediocre? He just said every game he's played, and I asked him, what do you mean? And this is a problem, Manchester United. We've got fans, I love my mate, and I'll just question him, but we've got fans questioning each other, saying, what are you talking about? Because the club is in an absolute shambles situation at the moment. It's 2-0 down to Newcastle United, who are a very average side, and basically they just came to Old Trafford to stifle and to take advantage of the lack of confidence for some of the players, but also lack of massive effort for some of the players. So, the first half, I mean, Newcastle could have got a couple of goals to go further on. Rashford missed them. golden opportunity, which had nothing to do with the manager. I would say the 2 goals that were given away had nothing to do with the manager, but it was players. And I said this on Twitter, and got a little bit of stick from some people. They were not bothered. So the second half, I don't know what said at half time. My personal view was maybe Mourinho just said, "I'm going." Actually, why do you actually put some effort in players for the fans? The fans who were still here, the fans who have supported me as a manager, even though I'm not, he's made mistakes, Mourinho, but have supported me as a manager, even though a lot of people have been hammering me outside of the club. And the players stepped up in the second half, and it became basically an attack versus defence. And then, to be fair, Newcastle, they were really good on the counter-attack. And obviously, the third goal in the match was important. It came further, just past halfway in the second half. One matter, great free kick. I thought Sanchez was going to take it. He came on as a substitute for Marcus Rashford. I'll come back to more substitutes soon. And then that was, and he scored that goal. Then Martial, who had had a poor match. I personally think that Martial Pogba wasn't taken off in this game because Mourinho couldn't take both off. But Pogba was put back into like a sort of central defensive position, which he brought the ball out from, which you could do very well because Newcastle were sitting back. They were just trying to hit on the counter attack. But some nice little interplay with Martial and a drilled shot into the bottom corner. I mean, there were opportunities at 2-1. Dubravka for Newcastle, who had an outstanding match when they met in the 1-0 victory for Newcastle in February at St James's Park. It's like he turned up. He's made mistakes for Newcastle. Doesn't make them against Manchester United, but you are playing against the biggest club in the country, even though they are actually garbage at the moment. So it got to 2-2. And then both sides went for it. Even at 2-1, Newcastle had a chance to go 3-1 up, but it got to 2-2, and then at 2-2, they had a chance to go 3-2 up, but Diarmi messed up his header. Just mentioning the substitutions, Emmett Bayer subbed off after 19 minutes. The guy didn't care. He wasn't bothered. He doesn't like the manager. Obviously, something's gone on for Juan Mata, who had an influence on the game. Half-time, Mourinho saw the light and took on McTominay, who went back into centre-back position when Bailly went off for Fellaini, who actually at the end of the day became Manchester United's best player in the match. I can't believe that he didn't even start the game. He played his main man Matic, who was awful in the match. And that, he went back into a defensive position at one point, and he did better there than his actual midfield position. It was poor. He was poor during the game. This is a player that is a Mourinho player, and he didn't even bother turning up, especially for the first half. So, as the game wore on, it looked like it would be a draw. I mean, personally, I think a draw would have been a fair result. I don't think Newcastle were that great. They had opportunities at 2-0 to make it 3-0, but I don't think that was great. They were allowed in by Manchester United. I think a draw would have been a fair result. But late on in the match, some basic, Newcastle sitting back. They got it out to the right, crossover. Guess who? Alexis Sanchez, the man who the manager has not been hammering but has been leaving out the team, has not got a tune out of him, gets the winner. Fantastic. I was happy, but to be fair, I didn't cheer any goals. I was obviously happy. I'm a Manchester United fan. But at the end of the day, there's still the cracks is still there, and if a decision's been made to relieve the manager of his duties prior to the match, what happened in the game shouldn't be, that shouldn't make a difference, because that tells you that the club are just basically making decisions on who, they're doing that anyway, because they're no football people. I find it quite funny that Gary Neville does his thing, which was fantastic. I loved it when he was unhappy, and I agreed with basically all of what he said. But do you know what? I've been saying that for 5 years. That's not me, trumpeting myself. That is people who have known me have said that. I've known that I've said that. That Ed Woodward needs taken away now from any football decisions at the football club. If Jose Mourinho goes and that's a decision, get him out! Get him out now, please! In regards of football decisions. He's a commercial genius and needs to stay at the club because United are going to need the money. But in football decisions, it should not be up to him to decide who the next manager of Manchester United is if Jose Mourinho needs to go. And as I said, if they decided that prior to the game, they should stick with it. It shouldn't make a difference. And that's the problem with Manchester United. They don't think about football. There's nobody on the board who thinks about football. It's just ridiculous. Jose Mourinho, the most qualified manager probably ever to get the job at Manchester United, and he's been treated poorly. He's not helped himself, and he's made massive mistakes. But he's been treated poorly. Who would you ask to pick your players? Central defence today, disgusting. The whole team were in the first half. But in the first half, it was shocking. Absolutely shocking. Who said I need a new centre-back? But said, oh no, we don't fancy those players. Shut up, Ed! Just shut up! Go back to doing your commercial duties. Get a football person in. The Glazers need to understand this, because I tell you what, you get those players playing like they did in the second half, defensively awful, but they had to go for it, and that's part and parcel. They can perform midfield and up front, and you will be up there. You will be challenging, because all you need to do is sort that defence out. Who knows what's going to happen? Do you know what? I feel a bit sorry for David McDonald at the Daily Mirror, because I would rather back him ahead of anybody on that board at Manchester United. They won today 3-2. There's an international break now, but next up is Chelsea away. And you have to be strong now, Manchester United. If the decision was made, you make it, and then we have to end up with somebody else. But please, 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 don't let Ed pick him. Or if we know Ed's just going to pick Michael Carrick so we can get it on the cheap. So he can say, yeah, that money we've had to give to Jose Mourinho, because I gave him an extension in his contract in January, then didn't back him. Idiot Ed! Clueless football Ed! I know I'm shouting, but it's just irritating when you love your club, when you love your team, and you see people hammering the manager, letting the players off the hook. It's all three factions. Massive, massive errors. But Gary Neville says it, and it's like, oh, it's great, but some will say, oh, he's letting the manager off. He's not letting the manager off. He's telling it as it is, that Manchester United are a club run like they're, like a piss up in a brewery. They couldn't even do that, the idiots that run the club at the moment. So anyway, that's my little rant, and we won today. So on to the international break. I'll be back after the international break. I'm around with my mates watching the Chelsea game away. That should be fun. I might possibly try and get her on this possibly. We'll see if I can convince her, but it might just be me ranting again. Sorry, I've gone on a little bit, because I just feel that these kinds of things, it just really irritates me when, yes, we've won, but we won in a way that's, last minute, etc., but won in a way where the club's in a shambles. And as I said, don't think Newcastle deserved to lose today's game, because they got themselves into a good position, but that was down to Manchester United, and Manchester United should never ever been in that position. So, as I've always say, plenty of content up at www.mufcglobal.co.uk. I will be back after the international break with more podding. Hopefully I won't be as angry and disappointed with how my club has behaved, but you never know. With Ed Woodward in charge, it's a massive problem. Oh, and also, this director of football business, I notice it's gone quiet because Ed Woodward is such an egotistical sod. He thinks he can still run the club. You can't, Ed. You've been proven as a joke as a football person be able to manage a club. Get back to your commercial deals. Get them done. United need the money. The guys want the money. You do as you're told. Simple as that. But get out of our football side. Sort it out, Glazers. Get him moved across and convince him ASAP, and let's get a decent director of football in with whoever the manager is going to be. Embarrassing at the club in regards of that. Good that we came back from 2-0 down, but we need to do a lot better. A lot of papering over the cracks today, and things need to be better. Right, yeah, I've bleated on for about 40 minutes. Apologies for that, but it's just how I feel, and I think, you want passion. I'm giving it you. Okay, I'll catch you after the international break. Enjoy, peeps.